welcome everyone for another episode of Fabric's Spotlight in Place series. Today, it's my pleasure to speak with BV Jagadeesh, Managing Director of KAAJ Ventures and my associate for a very long time. So we will be talking about various things, cloud infrastructure and various points of interest for Jagadeesh. So Jagadeesh, without ado, let's get going. So we share a long history, of course, and you are very well known in the Valley, but for the broader audience, it would be great to share your journey and the experiences that have shaped your career and your current interests. So I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah. First of all, it's a pleasure and thank you so much for inviting me for this wonderful session. And we have known each other since almost 1986 through our spouses. And I'm glad actually we met in 1986. And then we partnered together since 1994, 1995 timeframe when you were in Pittsburgh and you came and joined us at XLS Communications during the very early days. So just talk about myself. I come from Bangalore and I moved to the Bay Area in 1982. And then I worked for mostly startup kind of companies in computers and in networking field between 82 and 1993. And I always had the passion to start my own company. And somehow I think that inspiration came when I was interning for a company during my master's in Bombay, India. And that young company that I was interning, I was very inspired by the founder, one Dr. AJ Nain. And he was the true inspiration for me at that time. And then somehow I felt that one day I should start my own company. And in 1993, I met Chandra, KV Chandrasekhar, who became my partner at XLS Communications. And I left my job at Novell at that time. And then he left his job and both of us jumped into this, not knowing what we're going to do. And the rest is history. So then you came and joined us around 94, 95 time frame. And you really gave a phenomenal push to the company in terms of software and in terms of, all the value added services that XLS needed, which truly helped from differentiation perspective. And eventually, even during the IPO, the valuation was truly different for XLS compared to many other players who were in that place. And then 2000, I left XLS to be part of NetScaler. And, we badly needed help from someone like you. And then I approached you and you were kind enough to come and join and gave another push to NetScaler. And that was a phenomenal journey between 2000 and 2007 or so.
Yeah.
Citrix acquired us in 2005 and I was there for a couple of years, but you stayed for several more years after that. And then I did a few companies that didn't do so well. In a way, it was good. I've seen the success and I've seen the failure. So there is a lot of scars on my back. And that sort of helps actually as I'm mentoring now the next generation of the entrepreneurs. And so today, the way I describe myself is because I have my own a small angel fund that I run. So the way I describe is 60% of my time I spend on capitalistic opportunities. So working with entrepreneurs and creating next company, creating jobs, creating wealth, all of that. The other 40% is where I basically spend on social impact, which includes nonprofit organizations as well as impact kind of companies that work with underprivileged people. So I sort of balance my time between capitalistic opportunities and social impact kind of opportunities. So that's where I am at this point of time.
Yeah, you mentioned already a few topics that we were going to cover, like the learnings, and we'll come to that towards the end. And you also mentioned the two areas that you are covering in terms of the just a plain venture, the Silicon Valley ventures and the social impact. we would like to cover also that. So kind of to get rolling on the theme, you have had, you mentioned your inspiration, that's good. You had a great success both as an entrepreneur and as a super angel. So what would you say is kind of like the key ingredients that built up to that track record of success?
I think uh, if I summarize, all my experiences, I think basically it all comes down to the people. So people means it's you yourself and the people that you're going to be working with, right? And that's what actually makes the difference. And whether you are doing your own company, the kind of people that you have that you're working with, because no individual can build a company successfully. So you need really some amazing set of people who believe in the problem that you're solving and be part of the whole journey, right? So teaming up with exceptional people, I mean, like yourself, right? Having someone like you was truly a blessing for both Netscaler as well as Net and Exodus as well. And having such people and solving the problem. And not all the time we agree on things, but that's the whole point of actually having people with different opinions, different thinking, so that together, you contribute to building a great product and a great company. So I think that's essentially the gist of building a successful company as an entrepreneur. And the same thing applies even as I'm funding the next generation of the entrepreneurs. So I'm looking at, both the person that I'm funding as well as the problem being solved.
Right.
And of course, the problem can always be tweaked over a period of time because market changes or different things could happen. But you want the person to be able to withstand the challenges and ability to navigate. And so that's essentially, what I work with. And every company that I get involved, I would like to be spending more time with the company rather than just writing a check and then walking away from it. So that's why in my capacity, I really cannot do too many companies. I can, at any given point of time, I do about 10 to 12 companies, no more than that.
Yeah, so that's thank you very much for some of those key points, right? Especially the people aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have first-hand knowledge of how you look for talents. So we have had long collaboration. Of course, we already talked about Exodus and Netscaler, etc. No need to delve into that. But from this setting perspective, you have also been associated with an investor and advisor for the Fabric for ever since we got started and have been involved with the various companies. So any thought on how the Fabric approaches the co-creation and our collaboration, your experiences, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the concept that you have is really a wonderful concept because first time entrepreneurs need a lot of help and a lot of handholding. And in fact, I'm also associated with FalconX, where I'm one of the co-founders, which is a incubator in Silicon Valley. And we also bring many of the companies, but we don't do the way you actually do with tremendous focus in a few areas. And you literally like handhold these entrepreneurs, provide them the support of both on the financial side, on the product side, as well as on the customer side, right? All three different aspects. You kind of work with entrepreneur and you provide that kind of a help to the which I think for a first-time entrepreneur is extremely valuable, extremely valuable. So it's just that some modalities of how you do sometimes that works well, and sometimes you may or may not be able to attract a top tier entrepreneur. But I think at the end of the day, any venture like this, right, even top tier venture capitalists will have few successes and few failures, right? There is no formula per se, but the key essence is you as a mentor, you as a partner in this co-creation model, you have to believe in this, and you have to believe in the founder, and the founder has to believe in you, and together both of you have to give 100% of your time, energy, efforts, and everything to build the product and bring the product to the market, find a product market fit, and scale the company. And you demonstrated that very well with VeloCloud, and few other companies. Uh, After that, also you have had some good success. And I'm actually involved with your IoTM very closely as well. I'm a co-investor with you in IoTM, and I believe in the founder, and I spend significant amount of time with Ron on this venture. So I look forward to actually perhaps maybe working with more number of companies.
Yes, we certainly have more to work with you. So thank you for those comments. And certainly, I think the having the right founders goes a huge way, which again goes back to the point you had made in terms of the people. So now to shift gears a little bit to more on the industry itself. Everyone knows that enterprise adoption of the cloud is accelerating. That's just taken off. The question is, how do you see it playing out over the next decade or so? Do you think like enterprise data centers are going to disappear, everything's going to be public cloud, or do you see that it is a hybrid multi-cloud world for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I think, we were sort of at Exodus, we were the first generation of that cloud. And at that time, as you recall, right, convincing the customer to move their internet servers and internet infrastructure to us and relying on us was not an easy task, right? It was really a very challenging kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as you recall, the early adapters, which was the internet, the .com kind of companies or the e-commerce kind of companies, they saw an Exodus data center kind of a solution to be a boon for them, so that they didn't have to invest any money in building the data centers or managing the power or managing the network or any of those things. However, the classic enterprises, as they started to adapt the Exodus model, they continue to keep their data centers. And then for the internet aspect of it, which is the scaling, the reliability, all of that, they started to rely on Exodus. And 20 years later, if I look at the picture today, it's actually not that different. So many corporations, they still want to hang on to their data centers because of security issues, because of data protection issues, because of various intellectual property that they hold on to. But at the same time, they want to leverage the cloud. They want to understand the scalability aspect of it, right? And on top of it, now you have three different powerful clouds. You have Amazon, AWS, you have Azure, you have GCP, right? All three of them trying to woo the customers to win their business. And interestingly enough, each one is coming up with a different angle, right? Amazon looks at the whole thing as bare metal kind of stuff, and then provide some value-added services. Microsoft, because of the customers they own, the applications that they run, so they attract their customers based on those applications. Now, GCP is looking at more verticalized kind of solutions, which is a new behavior of Google Cloud in the last 3 or 4 years, ever since the Thomas Kurian has come on board. So they're actually penetrating more with a lot of vertical solutions, right, specific to each industry and each market. And everybody, I think, have agreed and accepted the fact that you must have the data center and a cloud as a hybrid kind of a solution. And I think that is where it's moving. And perhaps customers could be using or already using multiple clouds as well. So that means it's a data center and I'm using multiple clouds depending on my need. I think that is where it's eventually going to settle down.
It's I think there's a lot of alignment in how we are thinking about it and what your thought process is. At the same time, it seems like a certain segment of the enterprises are saying it's 100% cloud, like the medium guys. The larger guys seem to be going the hybrid multi. So one question, you mentioned security, for instance, right? It's been, I think, reducing in terms of its factor as a stumbling block. Do you think that will completely disappear, or they're kind of, are you seeing in your startup discussions, innovations opportunities to really shore up the security angle so that people feel as comfortable on the cloud as they are on their own data center?
But Prabakar, when has security slowed down? Tell me. I mean, you know, if you go back to our Exodus days, right, we used to use the Cisco, the 2-port firewall, and that was the starting point of actually offering some level of basic firewall, and then it has evolved into Checkpoint and you know, Palo Alto Networks and all of those things. And then at NetScaler, we acquired an app firewall company, right, Teros, and there's like zillion companies now and different types of models that are evolving. And personally, I myself, I'm involved with 3 different security companies, right, at different levels. So personally, I feel the complexity of the security is increasing more and more, especially given this hybrid cloud and distributed applications sort of an environment that customers are deploying the applications, right? You have applications that are running in the data centers in multiple clouds, and then you have data that is sitting in your data center, and then the data being executed in these clouds. So obviously protecting the data, protecting your applications and environment in these complex environment, in a distributed environment, I think there are a lot of holes that are being created, and that has to be addressed by security solutions. So I feel, you know, similar to this distributed applications, you have to start having more distributed security kind of solutions as well.
Right. So that's music to our ears. Of course, we have a company going in that space, Mesh 7. People very well known to you. So yeah, that's a good alignment there. We hope to, you know, involve you in that. We'll talk about that as we move forward. So kind of a little bit of a shift in you know, outlook. So we talked about, you know, Exodus and then the clouds. Those are all aggregation points. These days, people seem to be thinking about, hey, there's too much centralization. There needs to be this move towards a distributed edge cloud, and you know, 5G is coming up. And we also talked about the distributed era in our summit that you were there. So any thought that how you are looking at this whole push in terms of decentralization and, you know, having a more distributed operation? You mentioned it a little bit from an application perspective, but from an infrastructure perspective.
Yeah. I mean, you know, again, if you look at the history, right, it was mainframe to file servers, right? That's what was the birth of Novell, which kind of created a multi-billion-dollar industry. So this whole concept of centralized to distributed, and then centralized, again distributed, again centralized, and again distributed, that seems like it's a beautiful cycle that is going on, which you know, solves different problems. But at the end of the day, the concept seems to be still very, very valid as well. So obviously, you know, given the fact that there is so much computing power and so much of network connectivity at the edge, you want to make the edge as powerful as possible. and as intelligent as possible, so that you can provide more intelligent data or information to the end user. So in fact, I'm involved with a company out of Bangalore, which is kind of like a next generation of an SD-WAN. So it took where VeloCloud left off, and then it is bringing to the next level. And we're sort of pushing more intelligence to the edge using this technology. And this whole thing is a 100% software product that runs on any sort of an appliance, right? Including even your mobile phone as well. So we are trying to push to see how, especially given this COVID, more and more people are working from home. How do you make the home itself as a branch office, so that a lot of the capabilities of your branch office intelligence can be brought to the home itself? And I know you are starting off with another company, CloudBrink, which I need to understand a little bit more as well. But it's pretty exciting, the kind of problems that you guys are solving.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question.
Oh.
You kind of went there. So the remote work, of course, is top of mind, and very interesting that IoTM, for instance, is seeing a surge in demand because people cannot always go to the buildings, smart buildings, to service things. They have to access the controllers and equipment remotely. And you are plugged into that, so you are very well aware of that. And you mentioned, so so you are already engaged with these kind of companies, and we have had discussions about CloudBrink, and you mentioned the SD-WAN innovations continuing. So
Yes.
thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
So let's transition to another topic, which is so we are starting to look at, from keeping in the theme of the distributed aspects. One of the aspects is distributed trust, and that is blockchain. So we are looking at blockchain services, blockchain infrastructures. Have you been looking into that with the
I've been
initiative?
I've been involved with a company, and I'm looking at another company right now. So one of the companies that I was involved was primarily, in this blockchain. Some of the applications are very, very compelling, especially in countries like India, where land registration could be done by multiple people, right? And the owner could be selling the same property to multiple people. So the best application to address that is the blockchain. And the other one is college certificates, right? Faking the college degree certificates as they are applying to higher education. And so this is a company that has been addressing these kind of applications. Unfortunately, it has not taken off. But I'm looking at another company here, which is in the entire medical records, right? How do you ensure the authentication and the trust that you talked about, using the blockchain all the way from patient to the hospital and to the doctor, right? To ensure that all parties are fully trusted. Yeah. So my observation in this blockchain is I kind of take this internet as an analogy. You recall, right, when we all started our careers in 80s, until 1993, 1994, internet actually existed. It's not that internet did not exist, but for most common people, they think that internet actually started only when the browser came into place. But until then, it was within research labs, within universities, within some of these high technology companies, right, where all of us were using internet. But I think the killer application did not exist. And when the web came into place, which was the killer application, that's what led to tremendous amount of innovation in the internet infrastructure, right? All aspects, whether at the physical layer, network layer, application layer, every layer there is tremendous application. I mean, innovation that has happened. And I feel that even for this blockchain, if there is an imminent killer application that truly solves some interesting and exciting problems that is beyond, some of the things that I'm talking about, and I don't know what that is, but I think when that happens, then continuous innovation, just like what happened with the internet, I think will happen for blockchain, because I think it is a pretty phenomenal concept that really addresses some fundamental issues. And the important thing is to hit on some killer application, which would lead to innovation in underlying infrastructure and many other things.
Yeah, we have an initiative going on that side, copper wire, which you may be aware of.
Yes.
So I think we can discuss that as we proceed. So now, changing tax, you mentioned at the beginning about how you are dividing your efforts into just plain Silicon Valley type startups versus social impact. So we would like to hear from you about what kind of social impact initiatives that you are working on and how they are benefiting society.
Yeah. Thank you. This is, very close to my heart as well. And primarily, I'm looking at the social impact from two different angles. One is a pure nonprofit kind of an organization, and the other one is an impact where you take the underprivileged or societally impacted people and providing them the job training to sort of put them back into the workforce. So on the nonprofit side, both in India as well as here, I've been involved with education related and healthcare related kind of nonprofits, where starting all the way from providing, like a midday meal, because hunger, children going to school with hunger, they will not be able to concentrate. And personally, myself, coming from a village, I have the first-hand experience of many of my classmates who were sort of like struggling to get a single meal a day. So there is no attention for them when they come to school. So because of that, I'm involved with this Akshay Patra Foundation, which now provides almost 1.8 million midday meals every single day across all of India. And then I'm involved with one school at a time, where we build schools across India for the underprivileged. So we have done almost like 45, 50 schools so far. And I'm also involved with my own college, where we provide scholarships to the underprivileged children as well. And then on the hospital, healthcare, we are very closely associated with a cancer hospital out of Bangalore as well. And over here, if you are familiar, this organization called Boys and Girls Club. So this is the Boys and Girls Club essentially provides after school facilities for children who are in the East Palo Alto, East Redwood City, East Menlo Park kind of places, where they don't have a good support system in their home or whatever. And BGCP essentially brings those children into these centralized locations, and they provide all kinds of facilities between 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. And it's really fascinating to see how many of these children, absorb the after school programs that they have, and then how they come out of that vicious circle that they are in, and then start moving into becoming normal part in the society. It's absolutely fascinating. And I'm actually working with another NGO, which is trying to address the homeless issue. I mean, as we all know, homeless is such a major issue here. So this is an organization called Life Moves. And Life Moves, basically, we build shelters for these homeless people. And it's also very interesting to understand this homeless issue is different in the South Bay versus in San Francisco City. So at least for now, we are trying to address this in the South Bay area. where we build these shelters and we bring these homeless people, we provide them training, we kind of help them to look for jobs, and slowly over a period of time, they have to start moving out of these shelters and becoming like normal people. And then the other one that I'm involved is called the People Shores, where we have, which you are also involved as well. And we take these socially impacted people both in San Jose as well as in Mississippi, and we provide them the job training. And we also actually bring jobs from various companies and then put them to jobs so that over a period of time, they become competent and eventually go on to lead their own lives.
Yeah, that's a fascinating one. I'm just fascinated by People Shores. It's making such a big difference.
It's really nice to see, especially in Mississippi.
Yeah.
Right. There is a 45% unemployment rate in that place. And we now
have diversity perspective. The workforce there is
really, we now have almost close to 80 to 100 people in Mississippi. And the team is doing an incredible job.
Yeah, and many of the other charities that you mentioned, I think the whole education chain, starting from elementary school all the way to being in the advanced studies. That's something that we both share.
Correct.
The passion for. So that's great for sharing that with the audience. So we kind of now come full circle. You mentioned at the beginning that how you have had the success, and you saw, not so much success, but you also seen other companies that have been successful and not so successful. So the audience for us are really the entrepreneurs. So if you would like to communicate something to the audience in terms of the ingredients of how they should approach so that they can learn from the successes and learn the lessons from the failures as well and build towards their future success.
Yeah. So, as we talked about, right, people actually make this whole thing happen. And the number one thing to understand is this entrepreneurship is not a journey that is like a flyby kind of a thing. So mentally, one has to be really prepared to take this for 4, 5, 6 years. This is not a 1 year, 2 years kind of a thing. And
not sprints.
Yeah, and don't take, some 1 or 2 anomaly examples, and don't take Mark Zuckerberg sort of an example and then think that everybody can create that. No, those are mostly anomalies. But the real thing is, this is a 4 to 6 year sort of a journey. And even in that 4 to 6 year journey, 3 to 4 years, there is a lot of uncertainty. You don't know whether it's actually going to succeed or not. I mean, at Exodus, for us, between 93 and end of 96, we didn't know that we were actually going to succeed. At NetScaler, between 98, 99, from the time we funded the company till almost 2003, we had no idea the company would actually succeed. And today, it's almost close to like $1 billion in revenues. And, it is one of the core backbones in the internet infrastructure, right? We had no idea. We are working on it on a daily basis. But that's what the nature of building a business is. Every successful company that you see, there is this uncertainty period of 3 to 4 years. So you as an entrepreneur, you cannot just give up. You have to have the grit to face these challenges, to navigate yourself, and to really figure out, right, the product that you have built, how it fits into the market, who the early customers are, and figure out, the ways to make progress every day. Every day when you go home, you should feel that you have made some progress. So surround yourself with good mentors, surround yourself with good set of people, and listen to and take advantage of all the resources that are available today. Don't try to do everything yourself, because unlike at the time when we were doing the company, today, there's a lot of people who want to give their time, who want to mentor companies, who want to offer their help. So take advantage of that, learn from that, and make new mistakes rather than making the same mistakes that we all made. So then, you have a better chance to build a successful company. I mean, at the end of the day, your job as an entrepreneur and a founder is the problem that you have defined is to put 100% or 200% to build the product and give your best shot to make the product successful in the market. But there are umpteen number of reasons why that may not happen, right? You may run out of money, or the market that you visualized did not come, or it came in early, or it comes in too late, right? And then
there could be a sudden pandemic.
Yeah, there could be a sudden pandemic like this, which is going to put a stall on everything. So things are not under your control, but at least things that are under your control, execute properly.
That's almost like a Bhagavad Gita right there. Take care of the stuff under your control and let other things take care of themselves.
That's it.
So I think with that, we will wrap up. Thank you very much, Jagadeesh, for sharing your thoughts on all these different topics: entrepreneurship, social impact, and the journey that we have had. So with that, we will wrap up this episode and see you all the next episode.
Thank you. Thank you once again.